As humans, we often fear what we cannot see. But sometimes, the most terrifying things are the ones we can see, yet cannot explain by any stretch of human logic. Welcome back to the Myth Echoes. October 2009. Deep within the rugged terrain of the Bois Mountains in Oklahoma, the Jamison family, Bobby, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison, loaded up their pickup truck and drove into the isolated wilderness. They were looking to buy a plot of land, but they weren't just looking for a fresh start. They were running away. After that day, no one would ever see them alive again. Days later, their truck was found abandoned by the side of a dirt road. Inside, a bizarre sight awaited investigators. All of their most valuable possessions, $32,000 in cash, their cell phones, IDs, and even their beloved dog, starving and clinging to life, were left untouched. But the 3 family members had completely vanished into the eerie silence of the mountains. What drives a family to abandon everything they own and walk blindly into a dense, unforgiving forest? Was it madness, a drug deal gone wrong, occult forces, or something deeply sinister waiting for them in the shadows of the valley? Tonight, we dissect the chilling, unanswered reality of the Jamison family. To understand the tragedy that unfolded in those mountains, we must first look at the deeply unsettling behavior of Bobby and Sherilyn in the weeks leading up to their disappearance. If you think this is a standard missing persons case, you are profoundly mistaken. The evidence left behind in their home and captured on security footage paints a picture of pure psychological horror. Bobby and Sherilyn had fallen into a state of severe, crippling paranoia. They openly claimed that their home was haunted. Bobby even approached a local pastor, desperately seeking to buy witches' Bibles to exorcise the spirits. He claimed that the house was possessed by 2 specific child ghosts and that their young daughter Madison was actively communicating with them. It gets stranger. Written in large, frantic handwriting on the roof of their storage container, Sherilyn had scrawled a bizarre message, a mix of religious verses and a literal curse directed at witches. But the most damning evidence came from their own home security camera on the day they packed for the trip. The footage shows Bobby and Sherilyn moving like emotionless, trance-like cyborgs. They walked back and forth from the house to the truck over 20 times, completely silent, never speaking a single word to one another. At times, they would simply stop, freezing in place, staring blankly into the empty air. Naturally, investigators suspected heavy drug involvement, specifically methamphetamine, which mirrors this exact brand of erratic, paranoid behavior. Yet, a thorough search of the home and the truck yielded absolutely no traces of illegal substances. And what about the $32,000 left behind? If they were desperate addicts or fleeing a botched drug deal, why leave a life-changing fortune sitting on the front seat? Perhaps their terror didn't stem from a chemical imbalance. Perhaps they were running from something entirely real. November 2013. 4 years of agonizing silence later, a group of hunters made a gruesome discovery. Deep in the thick brush of the forest, roughly 3 miles away from where the pickup truck had been abandoned, lay 3 skeletal remains. They were found lined up, face down, side by side. DNA testing confirmed what everyone feared. It was Bobby, Sherilyn, and little Madison. Because the bodies were severely decomposed, forensic pathologists could not determine a definitive cause of death. There were no signs of animal mauling nor obvious trauma, save for a mysterious small hole found in Bobby's skull. To this day, experts remain fiercely divided over whether it was a small caliber bullet hole or merely natural degradation over years of exposure. But what elevates this case to an entirely new level of dread is the final piece of evidence recovered from Sherilyn's phone. A single photograph of Madison. The photo was taken in the Bois forest just before they disappeared. In it, Madison stands against a tree, her arms tightly crossed, looking directly into the lens. The face of this normally vibrant, bubbly 6-year-old girl is frozen in absolute sheer terror. Her eyes are wide, her jaw is tense, and her entire body is stiff with fear.
Crime analysts argue that this photo could not have been taken by her parents. Bobby and Sherilyn adored their daughter. It defies reason that they would deliberately terrorize her just to take a snapshot. The question remains: who was holding the camera? Who was commanding Madison to stand there? Were the Jamisons ambushed by a third party, forced at gunpoint to march miles into the wilderness to meet a ritualistic end? Rumors of violent local cults and a bitter, abusive feud with Bobby's own father, who had previously threatened their lives, still swirl around the case. Yet, none of these theories can truly explain the missing smile of Madison Jamison. The case of the Jamison family is technically closed, but the haunting questions it left behind remain wide open, burning a hole through the minds of everyone who dares to look closer. If this was a tragic case of folie à deux, a shared delusion where both parents succumbed to psychosis and marched their child into the wilderness to die of exposure, what was the ultimate trigger? If it was a cold-blooded homicide by a calculating killer, why leave the money? And why force them into such a chillingly specific face-down arrangement? The Bois Mountains continue to do what they do best: guard their secrets. They have swallowed the final moments of the Jamison family beneath layers of dirt and fallen leaves, leaving us with nothing but fragments of an unsolvable puzzle. Here's the part of the story that isn't about Oklahoma at all. It's about what happens inside a person when a story refuses to end. Give people a killer, and they can be afraid of a person. Give people a cult, and they can be afraid of an idea. But take away the villain entirely? Leave only a family in pain, walking into the woods for reasons nobody will ever fully know, and something else happens. The fear stops pointing outward. It starts pointing at the world itself, at how little control anyone really has. Psychologists have a name for what people do next. When the world feels random, the mind reaches for patterns, even ones that aren't there. It's easier to believe in a hidden hand than in no hand at all. A cult has rules. A conspiracy has purpose. A drug deal has a motive. Bipolar disorder having a bad week and a family getting disoriented in unfamiliar mountains, that has no shape at all. No one to blame, no lesson to take home. So the story got a cult, a hit list, a witch's Bible, a white supremacist caller nobody could ever verify. Not necessarily because the evidence pointed there, but because the alternative, that sometimes people just vanish for reasons that will never resolve into a sentence anyone can say out loud, was harder to sit with than almost any conspiracy could be. Before the studio lights of the myth echoes fade into the dark tonight, take a slow look outside your own window. In the pitch black, where you think you are entirely safe, are you absolutely certain that the unknown force the Jamisons were running from isn't standing out there right now, watching you from the shadows? Until next time.